Ever felt like you're stuck in the friend zone with your audience? Maybe you're posting a ton of value and you're getting engagement, but you never feel like you're getting any real momentum. If that's the case, you're probably following the 80-20 content rule, which I did as well, and it kept me in burnout for quite a long time, working 60 plus hours a week. Not fun. Then I decided to try something totally different, and now I run a multi-million-dollar business working just 20 hours per week, even though content creation is our number one lead generation source. Let me show you what changed. Okay, so here's the 80-20 content rule. You've probably heard about it before, right? That's where you're going to spend 80% of your time actually giving people value, your free stuff, how-to, hacks, ultimate guides, right? The kind of content that you see all the time on the internet. And 20% of the time, you're actually going to sell, right? You're going to promote what you do, whether that's a service, a product, or a program. Now, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with this particular rule. It just takes a long time, and it's not really what the market is looking for right now. Now, here's what actually is working for us that has generated the most amount of revenue and also grown our audience pretty substantially. We actually post about 30% of the time value-based content, right? This is our attraction. And then about 60% of our time, we're posting desire content. This is content that builds the relationship with our audience. And then finally, about 10% of the time, we're actually selling and giving people direct calls to actions and invitations to come work with us. Now, if you're not familiar with our content to customer as a framework, let me first take you there so this starts making a little bit more sense. All right, so here we are, and these are the three types of content that you really should be creating. Number one, right, that's attraction content. This is the kind of content that is supposed to really just grow your audience, help you get more followers, help you get more engagement. Then you have your connection content, and that deepens the relationship. It tells people, hey, this person, I know them, I trust them, I want to learn more, I want to actually figure out how I can become a client, how I can book a service, how I can buy a product. It really is just building desire for your offers here, and that turns someone right from a follower up here into a lead. And then we have our conversion content. That is the final tier, and our conversion content is what helps us make money, and we turn people into buyers. So that's the essential framework, quick and dirty. I will link a video where we deep dive into this so that you can understand the framework a little bit closer. But essentially, now that you understand those three types of content, I can take you all the way down here and show you why that's really important and why that works for us. So if you're just building value-based content all the time and you're giving people free stuff, you're educating them, you're giving them answers, problem is they're going to start to see you as a helpful friend, right? So helpful friend here. Nothing wrong with being a helpful friend. We usually want people to see us as helpful friends. But the problem is you will get stuck in the friend zone if that's the only kind of content that you create. So if you think back through maybe your Instagram posts, your reels, your YouTube content, your blogs, maybe even your emails, if all you're doing is sending how-tos, right? How-tos, tutorials, hacks, guides, the problem is that no one will ever perceive you as hireable, as someone who is running a business, as someone who actually generates revenue through their services, their products, and their programs, instead of being a creator. Most creators, this is all they're doing, right? They're just creating value, helpful content, helpful information. That's all well and good, but their business model is sponsorship based, right? Other businesses like you pay them to create content, to talk about their products, and essentially they get paid to do that. It's a totally different business model than someone who has an actual coaching business, a service-based business, someone who sells programs or products. So it's really key that you're showing up as a business and not as an influencer or content creator, and that you're signaling to your audience, hey, you can hire me. There is something beyond just this free content. And most people actually want to know what that is, by the way. In this market, people are like, how do I support you? I love your content, right? And they don't necessarily know that you have a business. So it's really important that you move beyond essentially this attraction level content here and into what? Connection content. Now, this is not the ideal breakdown based on everyone else's business. This is what works for us. We usually create about 60% of our content is connection because we want to build what? Desire for our offers. I want to show people, hey, I know what your problem is. I can diagnose it. I can fix it. And if you want to work with me, I can walk you through exactly how to do that in your business. We're going to install some AI systems. We're going to install, some content creation frameworks that will actually help you keep guardrails and speak to your person so specifically that even if you have a small amount of audience and a tiny following, you will get clients and customers. And that usually is the dream for most business owners, where we don't necessarily want to do all the hustle work of trying to get famous on the internet so that maybe like 1% of people who follow us will do business with us. Instead, we'd rather kind of grow our business organically, right? Put out content that is helpful, that is educating people, that is serving, and that's a part, right, that's so important, and also is building what? Desire for what we do, so that people DM us, hey, I love this video, I love your podcast, I listened to this thing, and it was so good. Do you actually take on clients? Can I work with you? Can I hire you to do this? That's what we're trying to create with our content. And so that leads us to the third option here, our content category, which is conversion content. This is content that is reverse engineered and designed to sell. It's featuring your products, it's giving people testimonials, it's showing people exactly how you can help them, right? You want to help them, and you want to do that by showing them how you can help them. Now, the question that I get all the time about this is, Kim, what is the right ratio for my business? How much attraction content should I be creating? How much connection content? How much conversion content? And the reality is that there are some helpful benchmarks that can really help us understand, like, hey, where are you at in your business and what are your goals? Now, these are individual benchmark ranges for individual places in business where you might be. But there's also the conversation about goals, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So let's talk about that first stage, the growth stage. There's actually about 5 different stages of online business growth. We talk about that in our online success path, and we're about to do a video on that I will link below this one if you want to understand more of like what stage of business are you actually in and what you should be working on based on that stage of business. But for the purpose of content creation specifically, now in the growth stage, this is where you want to build your audience, right? You are kind of new to business. You might not be like just launching, but you're in the hustle phase. You're growing your audience, you're growing your visibility, you're trying to get your first couple clients and customers. And so this is where you're going to be creating mostly attraction content, right? About 70% attraction content. That is your value content. That's content that is how-to guides, all of that good stuff that we tend to see all the time on the internet. 70%, why? Because you're trying to grow an audience. And this is the kind of content that's going to attract a larger net of people. But the problem is most people stay stuck here in the growth stage. And what I want you to do is think smarter, think ahead. I still want you to create some connection content. About 20% of that will be connection, right? Connection content, and this is attraction. Now, 10% will be conversion. And why am I saying 10%? This is optional, but I think there's something to be said about having, 1 out of every 10 of your posts be a sales post, something that you actually invite people to directly, whether that's to join a discovery call or jump in one of your mastermind groups or come in and purchase one of your courses or one of your digital products. Have at least one of those posts be sales related. Why? Even if you're not going to get a lot of conversions, you're going to signal to people, I am a business, right? I'm a business. I have something to sell you. And more importantly, you're not going to be pushing or being super salesy because 90% of your content is going to be serving people, right? It's going to be either attraction content or connection content. What's really cool is that even though you're in the growth stage and you might not be producing a lot of conversion content, your connection content will naturally build desire for your offers, even if you don't sell directly. What's going to happen is people are still going to reach out. They're still going to click over to your sales page. They're still going to go over to your website and book a discovery call, buy your product, sign up for your service, even if you didn't give them a direct invitation to do that, or if you didn't take the majority of the time in that content piece explaining what you do, which is really, really awesome. Now, once you're more in the profit stage here, right, you're going to think about this ratio a little differently. So let's say that out of 10 posts, you're going to be creating about 60% of them are going to be attraction. So you still want to get discovered, right? So that's going to be attraction. And connection content is going to go up a little bit. So you're going to, out of 10 posts now, 3 of your posts, right? 3 out of 10 are going to be connection pieces that are still going to add value. You're going to build a lot of deep relationships. You're going to build trust with people. You're still serving them, but you're serving them from a different lens, in a different way. You're not just throwing information at them. You're actually showing them how you create a transformation for your clients and customers. And that's really, really important. Now, we're going to still create some conversion content. That's going to stay totally the same, right? So 1 out of 10 will be conversion, and then about 6 out of 10 here in the profit stage will be attraction. Why? Because we still want to grow our audience, right? We still want to build more and more eyeballs, potential leads, as we prepare for what? As we prepare for scale. Now, we're still making money in the profit stage, right? We're still profitable. That's the whole point of it. We want to continue selling, but we're doing it in a stealth way, and we're not doing it in like in your face kind of way. Not that you're going to do that at any stage, by the way. So connection content here is going to go a little bit up, right? We're going to be creating a little deeper pieces here. And then we're going to have about 1 of every 10 posts be conversion content. Again, that content the same as here, that's going to be more specific towards selling and giving people an invitation. And that does not mean, again, that you're going to be out of integrity, that you're going to get into people's faces. No, you're just giving them an invitation. Hey, if you're ready, here's how you can work with me. Hey, here's how I've created transformation for other people. Now it's your turn. Come join me, right? Very different messaging than we tend to think about when we're hearing the word conversion or sales. Okay, now we're going to move into the scale stage. And if you are already at scale, this is for those of you who maybe you are past $500,000 in your business and you want to grow even more. Now, this is going to be a little counterintuitive, and that's totally okay. We're going to play with this a little bit depending on your goals. But most of the time when you're at scale, you want to build an even bigger umbrella and an even bigger boat. You already have your sales processes dialed in. You know how to sell people. You know the price points, all of that good stuff on the back end. And so marketing is just fueling more lead generation. Because you need to scale, you need to what? Reach more eyeballs. And so you want to be able to create about 80% of your content is going to be attraction. So if you think about growth, you're even creating more attraction content in the scale stage than you are in the growth stage when you're just kind of getting traction. And there's a reason for that, right? We want to broaden our net. And so here, about 8 out of 10, every 10 posts is going to be attraction. And then as we move here, 10% is going to be connection and 10% is going to be conversion. Now, I don't want you to stress out about scale because most of you are not there yet. And there is conversations that I'd like to have individually with everyone because it's so hard to give people generic advice on the internet. So if you're at scale and you want to know how to implement this for your specific business, there's going to be links below where you can join one of our group coaching programs or you can apply to work with us one-on-one. Check out all that info below here. Okay, so as we wrap up, we kind of understand where we're supposed to be benchmark-wise on each of these individual stages. What happens when you have goals in those individual stages? And this happens all the time. And I'm trying again to customize this as much as possible. I don't know your particular business and I don't know what your particular goals are. Let's say that you're in the profit stage and you can kind of toggle between 2 goals. Do you want to build your brand, right? Build your brand, or do you want to build your business? The brand will naturally build the business. The business will not naturally build the brand. In other words, if you focus on brand, eventually people are going to want to do business with you, but it'll be probably 1% of people, right? So you have to cast a really, really wide net. That's not to say that you can't, in different seasons, play with what your goals are. And you could be in the profit stage or in the scale stage, or you can even be in the growth stage and say, you know what? Right now, I want to focus on monetizing the audience that I do have. I want to serve them in bigger ways. I want to give them more opportunities to connect with me. I want to build deeper relationships and I want to sell, right? I want to be able to invite them into my world so that I can actually help them achieve this transformation. And so in different seasons, your ranges will change. If you're in a season where you want to build your business, then you're going to do what? You're going to up the percentage of connection and conversion. But mostly connection, right? Because that is going to stealth sell for you and it's going to give you the opportunity to talk to people more often. There's only so many posts that you can do that are pitches. You know what I'm saying? Not that you're going to have to do the whole post as a pitch, but there's only so many times until you kind of exhaust your audience. Whereas connection content, it just allows you to sell, build relationships, build trust without saying a word. You don't even have to invite them to anything. It's just going to create desire for what you actually sell just by showing people how you do it. Very similar to this video. I know that when I publish this video, inevitably, even if I don't invite you to one of my coaching programs or to work with Chris and I inside of the business lounge, you're probably going to go do it anyway. And so that flows seamlessly, not because I'm in your face selling you, but because I'm showing you how my mechanism works, what has worked with our clients, what has worked for us. I'm giving you aha moments. I'm diagnosing a problem and I'm prescribing a solution. And so naturally, a few of you guys watching this will reach out to me and be like, hey, I want to apply to join your program. And that's amazing. So we want to do this intentionally where we're serving people, but we're also building that desire for what we do. Now, if your focus is building your brand, maybe you want to get to another milestone or you're just getting started in really need an audience, that's where you're going to tone down the connection content, because connection content is for your existing audience, right? Those are the pieces that help you go really deep with them and build relationship. Your attraction content is where you're bringing new people in. And normally you're talking about topics that a lot of people want to hear about, right? They're casting that really large net. And you're also showing them in a format that is easy to consume. And it's hinting a little bit at entertainment, right? The brand aspect is when you're going to increase that attraction content. And you're going to decrease or maybe even eliminate for a while connection and conversion. Now, I don't recommend doing this forever because you're going to get stuck in what? Friend zone, right? We don't want to do that. So even if you're upping your attraction content to 90%, still try to do, 10% connection so that at least you're positioning yourself and you're sending that signal of like, don't forget, I'm a business. I'm not a content creator. I'm not just your helpful friend. I also have something that I can help you with beyond just consuming content on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram. So I hope you're starting to see the difference here between goals, right? Brand versus business, and then how you would switch out the amount of content that you're creating based on that season. Now, here's the big takeaway from this video. I want you to remember that the problem with the 80-20 content rule is that it assumes that all value content is the same. But it is not. There's attraction content where you share tips, how-tos, free guides. That's the stuff that actually gets you discovered. And then there's connection content where you move from being just a helpful friend who gives great free advice to a trusted guide who actually understands what they're going through and can help them achieve a transformation. And through your connection content, you're going to share stories behind the scenes, your particular struggles, your wins, your frameworks. You're going to diagnose their problem and prescribe a solution. That's what builds desire. That's what moves people from, oh my gosh, I love your content, to I absolutely need to work with you right now. And most of us, we're stuck creating 80% attraction content, which means we're stuck in the friend zone. Now, if you're watching this thinking, oh my gosh, Kim, thank you, I totally get it, but I don't know exactly how to create connection content or conversion content. I don't know what stories to tell, how to diagnose problems without giving everything away. That's exactly what we teach inside our group coaching program, TBL Plus. We don't want to just teach you how to create content buckets. We want to help build an entire content to customers system with you for your particular business in 90 days. This is where we look at your particular business, your goals, your offer, your audience, and we map out an entire strategy that actually helps you get clients from your content. It's not theory, it's not templates, it's a customizable system, and we plug in and power it all with AI so that you're doing the least amount of heavy lifting possible. So if you want help creating content that doesn't just get engagement, but actually makes you money, there's an application link below in the description. Come work with us. We'd love to work with you, get you out of the friend zone and into a paid relationship with the people who need what you offer the most. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave another video related to this topic here on the screen, all about how to get your first 1,000 true fans. So I'll see you over there. Bye for now.